Trevor Etienne was at Florida, transferred to Georgia. Now he has a DUI. That's another Georgia traffic arrest, and it's been round about 14 in recent memory. Here's the problem. It's not that Trevor Etienne is necessarily a bad guy, nor is it necessarily the case that there's a bad guy that's going to get in trouble with a super fast car here in the near future. I don't know what he was driving particularly, but talking to some people in the NIL game over the weekend, guys are going out and they're buying some price levels, $60,000, $70,000 sport cars. Other price levels, over $200,000 in sports cars. I have a car that's pretty peppy, pretty quick. I did not need to drive that when I was 19 or 20 years old. And I know that we think this is a Georgia problem right now, but I think there's a little more to it than that. Let's hop in the hot tub with Cooper Mays and start to break it down as far as where Georgia is, the SEC, and even Tennessee.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
We'll do it, Coop. What down?
Coop here. First down.
How big of a problem is this for Georgia, Caleb Calhoun?
It's huge. And I say it's huge because you bring up all the time, once the discipline goes out the window, you can't get it back. And
True.
Also, here's the real truth. The discipline problems start first, but you don't see the results on the field falter just immediately, right? Like you still see things are still going well. But then there's a game. Then there's a moment that it's a loss, but you just think it's a loss. And you don't think it's triggering a downward spiral. But then it triggered a downward spiral. The best example of that I always give you is the 2009 SEC championship game. That Florida loss to Alabama wasn't just a loss. That was the triggering of Florida completely spiraling under Urban Meyer, wasn't it?
Yes.
And
it's okay to let people break rules. Everybody will back you when you're winning. And that's not a big deal. But once he started losing, yeah, he lost a lot of support. So even though every school in the country could have as many traffic arrests, which they don't, but they could, this is still a problem for Georgia because you wonder if Kirby Smart loses any leverage at all to national champions.
Yes.
Probably not, but it could get to that point. Right?
Exactly. Sorry.
Second down. I want you to finish your point, but how much of Georgia's problem is NIL money, having sports cars? We saw that their new his name escapes me all of a sudden. Their brand new quarterback who played last year. Oh my goodness, Carson Beck. All right, so we saw that Carson Beck had a Lambo. And you look at the roads there too. There are a lot of long straight roads. Not that I've ever thought about this, but how much of this is a Georgia unique problem with NIL and the roads they have there?
I don't know if it's unique with Georgia. Maybe the driving thing is, but discipline's going to become a problem in college football everywhere because here's the issue.
You don't have a boss.
Yeah, coaches can't rule with an iron fist anymore. So
they can't even roll with a fist. They've got to roll with a pat on the butt and say, please.
Player commits a crime. You kick him off the team. What if another star player is that player's best friend? And he said, you know what? I don't want to be here anymore because you kicked my best friend off the team. I want to follow my best friend to another school that's going to take him. And we're going to go together. And two other players are going to do it. And
Trevor says, I think Trevor's a Georgia fan here. Trevor says, this is the only thing that UT fans can laugh about. I'm not laughing. I think this is a serious problem. And I think there's a good chance it could be a serious problem at Tennessee, at Alabama. Well, Florida doesn't know how to pay players, so probably not Florida. I think a lot of schools could have a serious issue with traffic incidents because they're getting sports cars that are way too fast for them to be equipped to drive at that age.
Yeah, I think Trevor just missed the point. We said second down, this is an NIL problem and a transfer portal problem. Like, we're not saying it's a Georgia problem at all. I will say, though, we are uniquely qualified to talk about this as a Georgia problem because we know what Tennessee had the same problem in the early 2000s. And it derailed the football program at that time. And it's funny. 2002 was the first year you saw major cracks in the armor with the 8-5 season. Remember?
Yes.
Well, what happened in 2001? Tennessee was upset in the SEC title game. At the time, we all just thought that was just a bad upset loss, right? We didn't think it was indicative of a larger downward trend of the program. And It was.
No, I did.
Yeah.
I really thought it was part of a continued upward trend of the program, and that they just played a bad half of football. Boy, was I wrong about that. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let's go ahead and get you on board right now. 4 Downs brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. What down, Coop?
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. 3rd down.
If Kirby Smart is a 9-win coach instead of a national championship winning coach, if he's averaging 9 wins, is he on the hot seat with this sort of issue?
He's not on. Well, no, but he,
because this could kill people.
Well, that's what I was about to say. He won't be on the hot seat just with 9 wins, but it will.
No, not 9 wins in a season. I'm sorry, averaging 9 wins. If he's not a championship coach and the Nick Saban, if he's average guy, if he's Eli Drinkwitz, is this a big time problem for him? Because nothing's a big time problem when you're winning big. Nothing.
Well, there's a big difference between big time problem and hot seat. So here's where I'm getting at: 9 wins a season. He won't be on the hot seat, but you will see story after story after story after story on Kirby Smart losing control of the program. If you see all of those stories, you will start to see recruits steering away from Georgia. I shouldn't say steer in this context. No pun intended.
No, I think I think you and I are making 2 different points in some sense. I'm saying if to this point Kirby Smart wasn't a championship type coach, would the pressure from outside of the program being all the traffic incidents put him on the hot seat? Would that be kind of like the straw that would break the camel's back? I say yes, because Mark Richt was winning 10 games before that a year.
It would eventually get him on the hot seat, yes, because also the program would implode. Because what happened, again, I bring it back to Fulmer, the coverage of Fulmer and him losing control wrecked Fulmer's ability to recruit, didn't it?
Yes.
And it was, do you remember the 2007 season? They win the East, but there was a story every week on how Fulmer had lost the program in national media. And 2008 was the worst recruiting class he had ever signed, even though he had just won the East in 2007. And I made the connection at the time. That was because of all the coverage of him while he was trying to recruit at that time. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. He earned every bit of that negative coverage, but there was all that coverage when he was recruiting and not the same coverage when he actually won the East to play for the SEC title that year in 2007.
All right. Is it time for the SEC to step in? 4th down, Dynasty Pools and Spas. Just imagine having the best spas made right here in the United States of America in your backyard. What about that? Dynasty Pools and Spas. Their showroom is open in Athens, right off the interstate. You can stop by and check out the best hot tubs and spas in the market. And delivery, yes, they can do that to Knoxville or Chattanooga. They've got complete support, spa cover, and chemicals to keep your spa bubbling at its best. They also have pool chemicals as well. Dynasty Pools and Spas, amazing discounts for first responders, military, and even some blemish models that can save you a ton, and no one will ever notice. Mention Off the Hook Sports, get $500 off. Mention Off the Hook Sports, get $500 off. Dynasty Pools and Spas. Go to dynastypoolsandspas.com or stop by that showroom in Athens. dynastypoolsandspas.com. Dynasty Pools and Spas. Caleb, should the SEC step in?
I can't say they should. Yeah.
Yes, they should. People could die here, Caleb.
Well,
see, this is bigger than football. This is why I thought
someone already has died. Let's be fair. With Jalen Carter, someone already did.
Yeah, somebody has died. I mean, somebody else could die. I thought it was bizarro that Alabama basketball was allowed to continue on last year with the gun issue that they had that led to a shooting. Yes, the SEC should step in. If it's something across the board, if it's something that appears to be a part of the program, and this is to the point that it does, the SEC needs to step in. They need to suspend people, but I thought they needed to deal out discipline the whole time. They just don't want to. It's a conflict of interest for Kirby Smart.
I mean, what if the legal system starts to step in a little bit more, where you actually feel the consequences of doing these things? Because we're throwing people in jail for smoking a little weed, but you can get a DUI going 100 miles an hour down a road and kill somebody, and you get a lesser punishment. And so maybe I'm not going to go with the SEC when I think our legal system is totally messed up and how we go with these people. I think that for instance, the Henry Ruggs situation, which was awful, but there should maybe be hard prison sentences for anybody who gets drunk and drives 110 miles an hour down a residential road. I mean,
Joe
like,
Newbert Collision Center. No, I don't have a problem with that. Joe Newbert Collision Center for nearly 50 years. Newbert Collision Center has been East Tennessee's best choice for quality repair work and fantastic customer service. Go to joenewbertcollision.com, joenewbertcollision.com, Newbert Collision Centers. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's just a matter of time until there's a serious accident. There was already one with Jalen Carter, but I think what would really scare the powers that be is that when it happens, when somebody innocent gets hurt, when it's somebody on your team that does something stupid, you can say, oh yeah, young, we're going to handle the discipline, that sort of thing. If it's a mother of four that gets hit by one of your players because he's drag racing on the road, you got a major problem there. And I don't think the SEC has any idea how to deal with this, because I don't think they've looked at it at all, because they've got bigger fish to fry. This NIL fish is the biggest fish you could possibly imagine frying. But eventually it leads to this, and that is guys having cars that are way too powerful at their age. Sorry.
well, and I'll give you this with the SEC needing to step in. Maybe it's probable that they should, because now you, as a coach, if you try to discipline yourself, you can just lose out on recruiting, which is totally ridiculous and puts one hand tied behind your back. And I want to make something clear on this. I'm not picking on Trevor Etienne himself, because Trevor Etienne, it was a reckless driving charge. It was a DUI. Basically, his DUI charge is classified as less safe, meaning it's likely he didn't even have a BAC level of 0.08. It was probably less than that, but he was swerving a little bit. So they found alcohol in his system. So it was enough for them to say you should probably be booked and charged. That's different from what Jalen Carter was doing. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Like,
I don't want to compare the two.
Yeah, this is Trevor Etienne had maybe one more drink than he should have had before he drove home, and he swerved a little bit. And that's not the same as getting drunk, drag racing, driving 100 miles an hour and killing somebody. It's just not. And we shouldn't treat all traffic crimes the same. But Georgia as a whole has a problem. And Trevor Etienne could literally be the straw that break the camel's back, because he's a straw on a mountain of like stones and rocks below him.
Yep, absolutely.